Welcome to Around the Dinner Table. We're happy to have you join us in this setting where we'll explore ways health can be transformed, not just managed. I'm Lark, this is Leon, and you're joining us around our dinner table where we typically have conversations that are appropriate, aren't appropriate while eating. It doesn't matter. Um, but as we were starting this EnzymEnergy webinar series, it just seemed to flow into conversation around the dinner table, which is what we have all the time. So we're happy to have you join us. We thought in this setting that Leon could summarize what happened during his presentation in the webinar, and then we'll answer questions that we weren't able to get to. And maybe we'll make some discoveries and just have some fun. We're going to keep it raw and as real as we possibly can, and it's going to be fun. So, our first dinner and
So I'm going to explain a little bit more about that little sign back there. It says around the dinner table, transformative conversations with Lark and Leon. So I have tended to be very inappropriate around the dinner table. And my kids, I've embarrassed them. I've embarrassed my wife. I embarrass them all because of the conversations that I choose to have. And they usually end up talking about shit, poop, elimination,
dreams.
Yeah, and then they get really wild as well because we talk about dreams and consciousness and enzymes and what makes life possible. So they don't tend to be normal conversations. They tend to be transformative conversations that actually mean something that actually move people forward, or either health wise or mental or spiritual, but tend to move people forward. So they're not your normal conversations. The part that's embarrassing is I always, the first thing I go to is, did you poop today? Or if someone's talking about I don't feel good, or I'm depressed, or I'm sad, and I immediately go to, when was your last bowel movement? And Dad, don't talk about that stuff, or oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe you bring that up, because I'll do it with their friends here if their friends are eating over. I mean, I have no filter, so um, that's what it's all about. So
Around the dinner table.
yeah, we're gonna, like Lark says, it'll be raw and real. So here we go.
And goofy.
Yeah.
That's just what you get.
So so the other night we did a webinar, and it had to do with enzymes, the missing link in modern health, and I tend to believe that enzymes are left out of the equation. They're only used as a digestive aid. And I'm going to tell you, it's not. It's way more than just a digestive aid. In fact, it's the key to your health, key to your mental clarity, the key to your vitality, the key to everything. So, and there's a way to get all that back. It's not just a digestive aid. So that's what we discussed the other night, and we kind of went through a whole timeline of what are enzymes, what the difference between digestive and systemic enzymes. Enzymes digest your food. Systemic enzymes get into your bloodstream and clean up floating immune complexes. We described what floating immune complexes were as from a nutritional standpoint, being undigested foods that actually make it into the bloodstream that are still too big and are causing issues, rather than being digested down to their fundamental form of amino acids, fatty acids, and uh, uh, monosaccharides that produce energy.
So you also talked about metabolic enzymes.
Yeah.
So you had them in two different categories, the digestive and the metabolic enzymes. What did you have to say about the metabolic?
Well, the metabolic enzymes are the enzymes that make every process in your body happen. I mean, you don't think, you don't breathe, you don't move. your liver doesn't regenerate. You don't detoxify without enzymes making that happen, and those are metabolic enzymes. And people don't know a whole lot about those. However, metabolic enzymes are probably the number one studied uh, molecule thing. Well, enzymes, metabolic enzymes are studied more than anything else on the planet because every pharmaceutical drug is made to either slow down or stop an enzyme or to enhance it, make it work faster. So so metabolic enzymes are being inhibited by pharmaceuticals or activated by pharmaceuticals. And so these enzymes are well, they're probably more important than most people think, and they are completely and 100% affected by our digestive enzymes. And so there is a connection, a correlation between the two, in that when you run out of digestive enzymes or you were born without a healthy supply of digestive enzymes, the body calls on the metabolic enzymes to help digest those foods, and done long enough and over a long period of time, the body starts to break down because it's spending all its time digesting food rather than rebuilding and regenerating and doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, so I've heard people say, oh, well, I have enzymes in my body, so I don't really need a digestive enzyme because I already have enzymes. And one thing that really kind of came home when I mean, we talk about this all the time. Obviously, it's our life. It's but one thing that struck me was recognizing that when I have a cold, if I'm not supporting my body by taking digestive enzymes, then my enzymes in my body are having to be split to go to two different functions. One to help my immune system get rid of the cold, and then also to digest my food. So the whole picture is that those enzymes are being distributed to too many systems. And so if you can add a digestive enzyme that focuses on your digestive system, breaks down the food, gets the nutrients where they need to go, then the rest of the enzymes that you naturally produce, that you came born with, are able to support your immune system, your respiratory system, all of the other systems without being depleted.
Yes. So we talked about the other night, we talked about a Dr. Paul Kochkov who uh, discovered that what he called digestive leukocytosis, which is elevated white blood cell count after you eat a cooked processed meal. What he noticed is that by eating a raw food meal, it didn't produce leukocytosis or elevated white blood cell count. And by eating cooked or processed, it elevated it to the point of like being poisoned, so it created such a strong reaction that the body called into service the immune system just to digest your food. And when you start breaking down the immune system of white blood cells, what they actually use to fight disease or fight bacteria, virus, that kind of thing, is that white blood cells have proteolytic enzymes inside of them because most of these structures, virus, bacteria, yeast, fungus, are a protein organism or made of amino acids. And so the white blood cell will envelop the invader and then dissolve it with proteolytic enzymes. So because they have proteolytic enzymes, they can digest protein, and so they help digest the foods that we've been eating.
Okay.
And that's why, and it's not just your immune system, your metabolic enzymes are called into play when we've taxed our digestive enzymes. Something that we I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but Dr. Edward Howell, was a major pioneer in enzymes and digestion, and he claimed that you're born with a finite amount of enzymes. And I think that over time has been disproven that your body actually can make and create enzymes if given the right nutrients. And I tend to believe that yes, it is, but I also, because I've been working with enzymes for quite a while, know that you can overtax your enzymes. So some of his ideas and thoughts still apply. In fact, that you can eat so many cooked processed foods that you become deficient in, or the deficient in the nutrients to be able to produce those enzymes that digest your food. And so it does call into play your metabolic enzymes. And because what I also noticed is by adding a digestive enzyme, it frees up your immune system, frees up your metabolic enzymes, and things tend to get better for people.
So one of the things that you shared a while ago was a study done on cats
Oh, yeah.
and how generationally the cooked foods led to degenerative diseases. So, and I think people kind of find that fascinating in the sense that we eat so many processed foods. What do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. The Pottinger cat studies.
Yeah.
This was done a long time ago. And so he had a couple hundred cats that they were using as test animals. So they had to keep them alive.
We don't do that on our products.
Yeah, we don't yeah, use animals for test.
By the way.
Yeah. But back then it was a common practice, and so they had a couple hundred cats that they were using for other studies and research. But what he found was that he had two groups of cats. One group was fed raw foods, and the other group of cats was cooked processed foods. And actually, it was just mostly just cooked foods. So once you cook a food, it kills its own natural enzymes and becomes very hard to digest. And what he noticed was that within the first or the next generation of cats, they were being born with issues and developed arthritis and degenerative diseases, diabetes, poor eyesight, and hair falling out. Um, So these cats developed these issues on the cooked food side, and by the third generation, these cats were being born with such uh, poor health and degenerative diseases that even their bones would break just being birthed through the birthing canal. Their skulls were misshapen. They weren't normal shape, and they go into great depth in showing all of this. It's pretty graphic. They splay out the cat and show the insides. They show the bone structure. They show everything. So
welcome to Around the Dinner Table.
Blood and guts. Right? So so that's what it's about, is eating those cooked processed foods cause those degenerative issues in those cats, and he was able to reverse that process, but it took quite a few generations of cats to actually reverse that process of being on just a raw diet. And so they made the determination that eating cooked enzyme dead foods leads to degenerative issues. And that was done a long time ago. I mean, this is quite, yeah. What was it? Early 1900s. I'd have to,
That
probably
was a long time.
1930s, 1940s, somewhere in there. I'd have to get the exact date, but
Yeah, a long time ago.
I've got it right in front of me. 1901 to 1967. All I had to do was
Is
look
that
at
how
it.
long he lived?
No, let's see.
Or is
Conducted
that
test
how long the
studies.
study was? 1901 to
Oh,
1967.
that's how long he lived, but it was during his lifetime that
Okay.
that he did those
Yeah,
test studies.
right.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
1930s, 1940s, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it was a really, really great conversation, I felt like, especially when you started riffing. Um, he riffs really, really well. Um, but what we didn't get to was some of the questions that were asked ahead of the webinar. So shall we
Yeah, let's
jump
jump
into
into those
those?
questions. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the first question. I'm not sure why, when, or how much of each enzyme one should take. I need to learn more about them and when to offer to clients for support and dosage. So that's kind of a three-part question. I'm not sure why, when, or how much of each enzyme one should take. What would you say to that?
So there's a few things to look at here. So enzymes work on contact. So I'm going to talk about dosage here for a second. Enzymes work on contact, and so if there's enough enzymes and coming in contact with food and floating immune complexes, then they work very fast. If we take too little, then it just slows it down. So as far as doses is concerned, my experience is you can never take enough. So the more you take, the faster it works, the more contact there is. There's different ways to take it. Obviously, you take a digestive enzyme with your meals, 1 to 2 capsules per meal, depending on how much cooked and processed food there is. So the basics is one digestive enzyme with each meal. And then the more cooked and processed it is, if it's all 100% cooked and processed and you got a lot of heavy fats or heavy proteins, then two capsules work very well. Um, now there are different types of enzymes that EnzymEnergy supplies, and we'll have to come out with a kind of a protocol on what, and we already do have those that information on what each product does. On these webinars.
So sorry, I interrupted you. There's also a suggested uh, dose on the back
Yeah,
of the
there's
bottles.
yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Yep, and it's always usually a minimal dose that you start with, but you can always increase, and that's what I want you to get is by increasing it, you're not. It's only going to work better by increasing it. Taking it with meals, taking it in between meals, becomes a systemic enzyme because it's not digesting food, it's getting into the bloodstream. Now it's digesting food that's out in the bloodstream, but and it's also helping get rid of inflammation and these floating immune complexes. So let's see, what was the rest of that question? How
Oh,
much of each enzyme
mhm.
one should take? A good digestive enzyme is going to have a series of proteases, a series of amylases, and a series of lipases that digest proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Um, if a really poorly made digestive enzyme is going to have one protease, one amylase, one lipase, and the reason being is that each type of protease or amylase or lipase will digest a certain section of that food group. So looking for multiple or a digestive enzyme with multiple ingredients, not just one of each. Um, now, and I'm sure what you're asking for is like EnzymEnergy provides a carbo enzyme, a gluten enzyme, a lipid enzyme, and a digestive enzyme, an HCl with enzymes, and it's like we've developed those for very specific reasons, and would have to take a whole seminar just to get into all of that. So.
Read your spec sheets.
The spec sheets, we've given out spec sheets on all of that. And if you don't have it, request it and we'll gladly send it out.
Yep. Okay. And yeah, there's so much to learn. There's just
The easiest
keep coming.
the easiest thing is take more. You know, if you're not getting the result you're looking for, spread it out throughout the day and with your foods. And we'll get into the results to look for. And I'm not just saying take more because I want to sell more. I can share with you how to get the results you're looking for. So
I did mention that sometimes I get a cold. And what I will do is I will take systemic enzymes two every 2 hours. And inevitably, and I will add my elderberry syrup. I'm not going to lie about that. I do add that. But the systemic makes that elderberry syrup just really sweet. And it's maybe a day. But that's just me. And that's just kind of what I do for something simple like a cold. Um, and yeah, so when you say need to learn more about them, just keep coming.
Yeah.
So smart. Okay, so next question. Is there one of the enzymes that works better than another for helping with weight loss? And obviously depends on the person, but is there a go-to if people tolerate most foods?
Tolerate most foods. As far as a go-to for weight loss, back in the day, we used to create these lipase-based formulas, and we would promote the heck out of them, saying, "Oh, this is going to help you lose weight" and all that stuff. And we got minimal results. What I found is that just by digesting food properly, people start to normalize, and it's enzymes aren't really used as weight loss. I wish I could say, hey, yeah, just take this one and you're going to lose a ton of weight. It's not necessarily going to happen. What you will find is that the body, as it starts to come into homeostasis, that it finds its balance, and it works more along the lines of creating balance, and weight loss for some is a natural part of that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. For those who partake in beer versus hard liquor, is there a particular enzyme for beer drinkers, a particular enzyme for hard liquor drinkers, a particular enzyme for wine drinkers, and a particular enzyme for mocktail drinkers?
Well, um, particular enzyme for alcohol use. I will tell you that a good digestive enzyme, if you take 3 or 4 before you go to sleep at night, after you've had a night out on the town, I don't care what it is you were drinking, whether it's a mocktail or hard liquor, it will either reduce a hangover or eliminate it completely. So you can wake up feeling pretty darn good. But it would take probably 3 or 4 digestive enzymes. I've seen it work with some systemics, but a digestive enzyme digests everything. So whatever your body is going through after, drinking those types of drinks, taking a good digestive enzyme will at least eliminate the hangover or reduce the symptoms of a hangover so significant that we've even marketed in the past, no more hangover, and they're all enzyme based, digestive enzyme based, a complete digestive enzyme. So
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Yeah. One thing that I like to tell people is that the digestive enzyme is a really great foundation. So if you start with a digestive enzyme, that's a great foundation. And then you can go on up the pyramid to, I don't know, systemic. I don't know. But digestive, always start with the digestive,
Mhm.
is whether you drink, whether you eat, whatever you do. Okay, last question for today. Would it be possible to take systemic enzymes along with zeolite, 5 grams at night?
Yes, short answer, yes. Zeolite is a mineral that absorbs it absorbs toxins mostly and helps eliminate it from the body. So taking a systemic enzyme is going to do a few things. It gets rid of floating immune complexes or digest foods that have been causing issues in the bloodstream, but it also if you look at the types of protease enzymes that are in a systemic are going to be your nattochinases, serratiopeptidases, your enzymes of that nature, and they are really aggressive when it comes to yeast, fungus, bacteria, virus, and breaking up those protein organisms. which can cause, and this is a term that came up the other day, herximers, which is die off of bacteria, die off of yeast, and as that dies off, it can flood the bloodstream and cause flu-like symptoms. People don't look forward to that. In fact, they don't want that. It's a discomfort, but I say that's actually what you're looking for. It's telling you that it's working, that it is killing the yeast, the fungus, the whatever it is that you don't want there, it is killing it. And the zeolite will help absorb that and remove it in the body. So yes, that's the long answer. Taking the zeolite will help with those issues or that Herximers. And that's another topic we'll get into is Herximers and or healing crisis, and the differences between the two and what you can do to minimize. Personally, I don't minimize. I want to push through that. I look at it as a rite of passage. Like that's what I'm looking for is that Herximers or healing crisis, and then I'm going to power through it. I'm going to take product. I'm going to drink lots of water, and I'm going to get it into the toilet. I'm going to take other products to move that into the toilet rather than bouncing around in my bloodstream.
I think in some ways it's an initiation into that transformative state of being physically. And when you're in that physically, then it opens up so much more for you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is that,
Yeah.
it's a progression. So go through the initiation. Woohoo!
Yeah, and it's important. I mean, that's my approach with it. However, there are people that are so toxic that too much die off or too much of a toxic dump all at once can cause some issues. And so
Yeah.
you'd want to know how to manage that, back it off, slow it down. But if you can tolerate and you have a higher threshold for discomfort, then I say move through it best you can and get to the other side. Because what's on the other side is incredible health, mental clarity, stronger immune system. It's everything that you're looking for is on the other side of that.
Yeah. Vitality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have created protocols because what we're talking about really is our colon health.
Mhm.
That's
It,
and the protocol is there. I have that on my desktop.
yeah, it's you don't want that stuff floating in your bloodstream. You want it in the toilet. And so the quicker we can get it into the toilet, the better you're going to feel and the faster.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have that. Okay, well, that's all of our questions.
And this
You
is
did
kind
a great job summarizing things and
of, thank you. So
yeah,
this is kind of the conversation we have around our dinner table. Don't know if that's kind you have, but here we go.
that's what we have. So just I'm saying a lot. We'll get better. It's kind of fun to do things new that you've never done. It's maybe a little scary, a little nervous making, and we'll get better, and that's all right. October, October 14th will be our second webinar, and the topic is enzyme bankruptcy and degenerative diseases, and we kind of touched on that a little bit in the first webinar, and so this is going to kind of stair step into the next one, and then we'll follow that up with another podcast. There will be a theme song, but isn't our cover lovely? All right. Y'all have a really great day. Thanks for joining us.